clean. That's something that not everybody does, but we do. Our facilities want to keep clean, organized, inventory levels and inventory accuracy at a high standard that we can. Again, this eliminates the employees from having to come to work in a dirty facility, unorganized, products not where it needs to be when they pick it, and those types of things. Because that's going to tell the employee that, well, they don't care.
Welcome to Manufacturing Insiders. Today I have Art Oliva with me. He is a third-party logistics guy. He's been in the industry for a long time, and today I was just hoping we could kind of pick his brains about what is, really an integral part of all manufacturing operations, and that's logistics. And so I just want to kind of find out what are some things that any manufacturer should be aware of as they're dealing with logistics company, kind of looking for one to choose. Ways that they can become more efficient, save some money. So welcome to Manufacturing Insiders, Art.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So what's the one thing most manufacturers you've worked with in the past have not thought about with regards to logistics?
I think one of the main things is when we talked pricing and getting the estimates and what it's actually going to cost to do certain things at the facility. A lot of them don't know all the little pieces that go on and that have to go on in the background and how we come up with our charges and our rates in order to do things to service them. So for us, our motto is we don't say no, everything is a yes. We just have to figure out how to get it done. The majority of the time it's in our wheelhouse. It's pretty much bread and butter to us. We get it done. We have our standard pricing that we pass on to the customer. But then sometimes there's those one-off projects they may have, those, special quality checks, their inspections, their kitting, their builds that we have to get pricing together for. And/or when they want to find a 3PL to work with, they're not sure of how that pricing works. So meeting the right 3PL and partnering up with the right one that's going to match their financial needs and their budgets and everything else. But again, for us, we'll do it. We'll do pretty much, I don't want to say anything, but we'll do pretty much what the customer's asking. It's just breaking that down into cost and giving them the cost estimates in order to do that.
Okay.
So that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. So just so I understand kind of what some of those things are, like, do you have an example of a company that you guys are doing? Like, if I was to say, which customer are you doing the most for in terms of all those little pieces that could potentially be upcharges? What would that customer be doing?
They'd be doing quality inspections. Since we deal a lot in food, well, primarily mostly in food, there's a lot of quality holds or quality inspections, or there could be some manufacturing checks, I guess you would say, that we have to go through for them since we have the product on site. So they would put in a request to us. We'd have to do a time study. Majority of it, we do straight time studies. We don't have standard times that we use for projects. We do it all on hand. And then we give it back to them on what it's going to cost for that project or for that inspection or for that quality check. And
how is a time study? How is that done? The time study?
A time study, it's primarily done if we have the product in-house, we'll pull the product, we'll get the requirements they're asking for us to do with that study or the projects are, and then we'll just walk through the steps. And we'll time everything and we'll give them a time we think it's going to take for that quality check or project or build. And then obviously based on the rates, we'll give it back to them on this is what we think it's going to cost in order to do this project.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it seems like a time-consuming way to quote something.
Yeah, sometimes some companies use industry standards. Well, they'll say, okay, we're going to do A, B, C, D, and they already have their standards built in. They say, okay, here's what it's going to cost. But for us, we have so many different customers that everything could be different. Their product is different than the other one. So we do have some cookie cutter pricing, but some of these projects, if they're one-offs, we have to do it that way to make sure we're capturing everything that we're going to do for them.
So, in terms of value adds, like I wouldn't normally think of and obviously not being in the food manufacturing space, maybe I just don't know, but I wouldn't normally think of my logistics company doing the inspections for me. Is that a pretty typical thing for for you guys to be doing that, and for competitors to be doing that?
When I say inspection, it also depends what you're talking about. So, for example, an inspection would be something as we have a bottle that's leaking, or we have a bottle cap that's loose, or we have a carton that the glue flap is coming off.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go through our 5,000 cases to see if you find it. So that's the type
Gotcha.
of inspection I'm talking about. So
Okay,
it's a matter
we're
of
not
getting
talking about
paid.
actually testing the product
Oh, no, no, no.
qualities.
Don't
Okay,
do that. No.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no.
All right. So now that kind of clears up my confusion a little bit. Um, so what are some common value adds that you guys do that maybe some of your customers may not be aware of?
A lot of them don't know that we'll do relabeling. So, for example, their product they've manufactured 10,000 units and the manufacturer put the wrong barcode on it. We'll go back through and we'll barcode all their product for them. Or their boxes were the wrong type of corrugate. It came overseas, it came to us. They have, again, 10,000 boxes. The boxes went to the customer. The customer says, hey, this corrugate's not strong enough. So they may say, we're going to send you all the brand new corrugate. We want it all boxed up. Okay, we'll repackage it all for them. So we'll just do different various types of things for them that they just, they want to see if we can do it. And like I said, for us, we primarily try and do everything the customer wants. We're going to try
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to look into other resources if we need to. We may have to, let's say we have to buy a piece of machinery. I'm not talking a big piece of machinery, but something small to
Mm-hmm.
do the job. There are different things we may have to do in order to do the project for the customer. So for us, it's customer service 100%. We try and do.
And that's a big differentiator. A lot of the companies kind of just want to take a standardized process,
Right.
and
That's correct.
I see.
We do have standards. Don't get me wrong. Our standard processes we do, but again, for us, it's being able to cater to our customers whatever they're looking for. And again, there's
Gotcha.
some things we can't do, and we let them know. This is something that's we just don't do. But for the most part, we try and do anything and everything the customer is asking within reason.
I see. So you said you're primarily in the food space, right?
Yes.
Why that differentiation? Is that just what's kind of come to you over the years, or is there a specific reason why you focus on that industry?
That's just what Prism does, and we do it very well. Um, our quality, our audit processes that we have, our general processes in place, it's all revolve around the food industry. We have
Mm-hmm.
other customers as well that are not in that space, but primarily that's what we do, and we do it very well.
Yeah, it would seem like when if we're just talking about the transportation and warehousing of products, I guess what's the difference between food in that scenario and, a die cast part, for example?
Well, for food, there's a lot more facility requirements.
Okay.
For example, if let's just say you're distributing garments, it's not going to be anything like a food facility, a food grade facility. There are so many more requirements you have to have just in the building, cleanliness, that you have to.
Humidity, temperature, all that kind of stuff.
We're ambient temperature, so it all depends. We do have some controlled temperature as well, but
Okay.
that's a small space in our overall picture. But majority of our facilities are ambient, so we don't have to worry about that too much. But what I'm talking about is pest control. Pest control is a big one for food, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be a big difference in the two
I see.
different industries. And again, I'm just using a generic
I
example.
see. Okay. So from a logistics standpoint, for the food manufacturer, logistics is going to be a more expensive part of their operation than somebody that is in the garment space because of those requirements.
Um, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just talking about mainly the facility and what we have to do on our end,
Right. Right.
the expense
Yeah, and
for
I assume right. I just assumed if it costs you more and you have to do more things, then it's going to probably cost them. Okay, I see. Um, so what's doing business in California like these days? We I'm over on the East Coast. We kind of look at that as another country in some ways.
it is. Yeah. And I've always worked in California. I
Yeah.
visited, obviously, the East Coast, other parts of the country, other facilities, and it is different. The main difference that I've always seen is just the labor, how the labor laws differ in California. The saying in the industry that I hear a lot is there's ways to do it, and then there's California.
Hmm.
You have just an example. You have OSHA, you have Cal OSHA. So
Ooh.
California is a big, big difference in just the labor itself. And it's a big part of what we have to deal with in California.
Yeah. Yeah, the old OSHA tax. Man, I've met quite a few guys over the years that don't have great things to say about that organization.
Right.
I mean, there's the aspect, obviously, of like protecting our workers, et cetera. You know, we don't want people dying on the job. But there's the other aspect of like, oh, you didn't have the right signage up here. Here's a $15,000 bill for you. You know, like eat that, right?
Right. Now we try our best, very best, to comply with all those requirements. We have in-house compliance. We have a compliance manager that keeps everything pretty much on track. And again, for us, it's about auditing our processes. We have that in place every month. We go to the facilities, we inspect. That's part of my job as well. As I go to the facilities, I'm inspecting to ensure the food quality is there, the safety's there, and of course, just the general operations. So
Mhm.
we try to constantly look at our facilities and make sure they're in compliance.
And is that part of your job is to make sure that that's getting done as the operations manager?
Yes. Yep. As a director of operations, I go to all the facilities and I work with the management team at each facility. And again, it's just making sure they're doing the day to day operations, number one. But then
Hmm.
again, looking at the facilities and ensuring that, again, going back to the food quality, the safety, that they're doing those, just the basics, number one. And then everything else on top of that are customer requirements. Because in one facility, we can have 20 different customers and there's 20 different requirements that each customer could potentially have.
Right. So I would imagine with that much going on, you guys are really leveraging some interesting technology. Anything from the AI robotics side of things that you guys have been using to kind of optimize your operations?
We have started last year. So we have started getting into that techie side of it. But a lot of our, like I said, the qualities, a lot of our safety stuff, it's pretty much how the industry does it. I mean, we do have a TQM as a quality based system that we use, and we keep a lot of our documentation. That's how we track everything to ensure we're staying on track with
Yep.
everything that we have going on. But I think in the future, going forward, we will be looking more into that.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, we have started going down that road.
Interesting. Yeah, from the warehousing standpoint, there are some really interesting things out there. You know, I talked to this guy a week or so ago that's developing a robotic solution for warehousing. Now, the only caveat is that you have to use their racking and bin system. Um, they can train as long as you have their bins. It's okay. You know, some of the racks can be kind of retrofitted, but basically, once you get it set up, it's 100% automated. They can run an entire warehouse with one or two robots, and basically they'll take stuff off the shelf, repackage it, put it in the shipping containers, whatever they're being shipped in, or the cartons, and you're on your way. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, I would imagine when you got a lot of different types of products and a lot of variation in processes, that may be difficult, but that was one thing I came across.
Yeah, in the past, what I've seen with those is, like you're saying, it's a standardized system. So the product and the customers you're bringing in have to meet that spec. So back to what you just said, for us, we have so many different customers and the size of our customers vary.
Mm-hmm.
So a pallet isn't a pallet. A
Right.
pallet could equal 15 different things
Yep.
for a couple of different customers. So we try to standardize it the best we can. But again, we cater to our customers. So if a customer says our pallet height is this and this and this, we say, okay, we'll make it work. But we don't tell them, no, it's not going to fit in our system. We don't do that. We say, okay, this is what you have. We're going to bring it in. We're going to modify. If we have to modify our floor space, we have to modify our rack systems, we'll do it. But again, we try to cater to the customer. So a lot of those systems that you're referring to, I've seen them in the past. They're kind of, I guess you would say, kind of a cookie cutter system where once it's installed, the customer coming into that space has to comply or conform to that system in order for it to work.
Right. Yep. Yeah, so it would only work in specific use cases. Yeah, because I see that problem in, robotics all the time too, because even the process of picking up a part, depending on what the size of the part is, you may need a different attachment, I guess you could say, for that robot, a different arm for it to actually pick that up.
Right. We do have
Yep.
a radio controlled racking system in one of our facilities, and it works very good. It's a very good system. We utilize it the best we can. And again, it's certain customers could use that space because of the pallet dimensions and how it's going to fit in there, how it's going to move, how the system's going to pull the orders, put the product away. But again, for us, it works for some of our customers. So it's actually a good system.
Yep. What's the biggest challenge in the logistics space right now, for you guys?
For us, it's a lot of our customers have ordered a lot of inventory, and that kind of goes back to the whole COVID. And now we're seeing the back end of it, where a lot of customers have over ordered, I guess you would say, inventory. So we are not a bad thing, but a lot of customers have excess inventory, so therefore taking up a lot of space. But for us, space equals revenue.
Revenue, yeah.
So that's a good thing. But then again, it doesn't turn as often as we would like it to on some customers. So we always want to see the turns, of course. But again, their inventory taking space in our buildings not being empty, our buildings being to capacity, those are all good things. So that would be one thing, that the inventory is not turning like some customers would like it to.
Is it specific items, specific types of inventory that you're seeing?
No, it's just in general. If I would say across the board, it's in general.
Okay. And have you noticed, like, since the kind of tariff shakeup a few months ago, that people did try to order more inventory while, they kind of had an idea of what the cost of that stuff was going to be, but then, maybe that just kind of ended up sitting around?
Yeah, the tariff thing that goes along with it as well. That did affect us and again, a lot of different customers. So it affects the customer. Obviously, it affects us. So we saw that as well. I myself didn't get too involved with the customers on what they were doing. I'm pretty much on the back end, I guess you said, the facility side where I'm just seeing the effect of it. But actually talking one on one with customers on what they're doing, what their strategies are, I didn't do too much of that.
Okay. So, when are you managing just the warehouses, or are you, because then you kind of have the trucking piece of it too, right? Is that kind of a separate side of the business, or?
Yes, the transportation there's another, I guess you would say, department or a division. I don't handle the transportation. I
Okay.
primarily handle the warehousing side, and of course dealing with the customers and assisting them and being an escalation point for the customers as well. So I'm pretty much, in a sense, I go to the facilities and help them with the day-to-days, give them direction, any issues that they're having. But then the customers, if they have an issue that they want escalated up, I'd fall into that as well. And then, of course, like I was mentioning earlier, was to go to the facilities and just make sure that they're complying with everything that needs to get done on a day-to-day basis. And then, of course, there's the labor side of it as well. Are we meeting our labor needs? I monitor our labor hours, our dollars, our spend, and then giving that information back to the management team on how they're performing as well. So labor management is a big part of it, not only the distribution, the day-to-day operations part of it as well.
What are you doing are you guys struggling at all with workforce? Are you doing a pretty good job of keeping everything staffed up like you want it to be, or is that a pain point?
No, for us, our staffing's pretty good. One thing I would have to say about Prism is our turnover is actually low. We don't have a lot of turnover. We have a lot of tenured employees here, which is great.
Yeah, that's
a
awesome.
thing to see. Oh yeah, it's really, really a great thing. So our turnover generally mainly comes from the newer employees that have been here, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. There's always the pay rate issue or the pay rate concerns with the newer employees. They're always looking for, the higher dollar. So therefore we see that turnaround on the newer employees, generally speaking. But the tenured employees, they stay, which is like I said, it's a great thing.
So you must be finding some interesting ways to kind of advance them and to get them into more responsibility type roles over time. How are you retaining them?
Retention, again, for us, our work schedules, we pretty much have one schedule or one shift for a majority of our facilities. So therefore, our employees, it doesn't vary very much. What I mean by that is they're not having to work a first shift, then a second shift, then a graveyard, and rotate, and we don't do any of that stuff. It's primarily one shift, Monday through Friday. That's a great thing too. So the way our business is structured is it's one shift Monday through Friday in general. Now, if our business fluctuates and we're working weekends and overtime, of course, like any other 3PL, but for the most part, it's 9 hours a day, 8.5, 9 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So the employees love it. They like the schedules. It doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. And when the overtime's there, they get to work their extra hours. So for them, I feel it's a good fit for them, where again, it's not these drastic change in schedules and they're not having to deal with that. So again, I think it's a good fit for them. We just expect the employees to do the job. And from what I can tell, they get the job done, they come to work, they go home, and everything just keeps going at a good, steady flow and pace. And employees seem to be happy.
Do you? Yeah, and I mean that doesn't necessarily happen natural, like just automatically, right?
Oh, no.
There must be more to it, right?
Right.
So, are you, from a culture standpoint, are there things that you guys are doing to kind of give these employees a sense of work satisfaction? Some of the things that I've learned about are, even having kind of visual indicators of performance. How well are things doing? Like, are we, I don't know what metric you measure, but like, hey, our number is really good this week. We're excited about that. Like, how are you kind of maintaining that, the motivation there?
Well, some of the things that we do, and again, it goes back to the culture of the facilities and Prism, is we try to keep the facilities clean. That's something that not everybody does, but we do. Our facilities we want to keep clean, organized, um, inventory levels and inventory accuracy at a high standard that we can. Again, this eliminates the employees from having to come to work in a dirty facility, unorganized, products not where it needs to be when they pick it, and those types of things, because that's going to tell the employee that, well, they don't care. And it's harder for us to do our job. So we try our best, again, clean facility, organized, inventory where it's supposed to be, and then assist them with any issues that they have. And of course, that safety culture as well, driving a safe environment, and then listening to their concerns, issues, and having that open door where if an employee sees me walking the floor, they can talk to me. Hey, how's it going? I'm out there. I walk the floor, saying hi, asking questions. If they need help, they can pull right up inside me and start talking to me. And that could be me, that's the VP, that's the president. We have an open door to everybody. And when they see us, they feel they can talk to us.
Yep. And that really seems to be kind of a common thread among companies that are successful with their employees is kind of that open door policy, that approachable leadership concept. So I do think that's important. I actually started, I'm getting close to 50 podcasts now, and I started to kind of just consolidate the similarities between successful leaders in the manufacturing space or the business to business space, and that was one of the things that I wrote down. So I'm going to publish that, once I get a few more points on there. But
Yeah, one of the things about, about labor and labor struggles that have been talked about the younger generations coming in and able to perform some of the manual tasks. That's a challenge, yes. And then again, I'm talking in general. But one of the things that I've been thinking about lately over the last month is what actually about the leadership talent and the leadership pool. Are we going to we're worried about so much about the hourly employees coming in and filling these roles. Well, my question is, are we going to have the leadership team to lead that team? And are they going to have the skills and knowledge and how to be leaders in order to take that next level and build them up?
right.
So I think we're looking at it from the low standpoint of just filling the roles, and we're not looking upstream a little bit more. Well, do we even have the leaders to lead those roles? And that's
Right.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair point, and because that's all you really do hear about is the kind of filling the lower level positions. But I think leadership is something that it almost seems like a generation or two ago, leadership was kind of inherent, right? If you grew up on a farm, you had to take care of things. You had to be able to. You almost have this generation that wouldn't even know where to start with leadership. And I think obviously one of the biggest aspects to good leadership is good communication. And we've really lost a lot of that interpersonal communication over the past decade here because of social media and other reasons. So yeah, how do we teach that generation to communicate and to be good leaders? Do you have kind of an internal training program that you're looking at?
So I myself have started doing that. So I actually am the trainer for leadership training.
Okay.
I started that program where one thing I just started looking at was, okay, we're having newer supervisors asking questions and dealing with issues, and then me just asking my questions like, well, do you know this and do you know that? And just asking general questions and just getting a general feel for the leadership team as a whole. So I just started going to the basics and saying, okay, we're going to have a training session on communication, like you pointed out. Communication is key. I think that's the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started looking at, okay, well, do you know how to successfully or do you know how to adequately track just attendance? That's just a basic question, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how to track attendance? And when someone's not meeting your attendance expectations, do you even know how to handle that? What's your next step?
Right.
So we had all the parts in place. Don't get me wrong. We had all that, but it was just the supervision on them understanding how to manage that. And that was one of the pieces that we were lacking on a little bit, but now they're doing a lot better. And reporting was another one. Just basic reporting, right? How to fill out reports thoroughly, and the verbiage, and what should it say, and what should, all the little elements be in there, those types of things. So again, just in general, not everybody, but just in general, just taking the little things and then assisting them on coaching them on what steps to be taken next. So again, looking at the leadership team, but not only do you know the job, which I think a lot of people getting promoted, and again, I'm talking in general because I've seen that in multiple companies, but promoting the people that best do the job, which is great, promoting in-house, promoting within, which is excellent. I firmly believe in that. But sometimes we promote the people that are best at the job, but are they going to be are they going to be a leader? Are they going to be able to have those skills to lead the team? That's the other part of it that I look at as well.
Right. So I was kind of interested to hear what your attendance policy or perspective is. So when you ask them if they know how to track attendance, and where do you draw the line between this is okay and this is not okay? And like, what do you how do you remedy that? What is kind of your policy for addressing those issues with an employee?
Right. So going back to the younger generations, well, we're at a time where the younger generations, their concept of time and being on time, a lot of them lack those skills. They think if I show up at work at 8:10, I'm on time. You wanted me here, I'm here. So it was asking the question first. And again, I keep it in general, just asking the question of, well, what do you define as being late? Well, technically speaking, if your start time is at 8 is late. That's really what it is. But then the question is, well, do you allow, some time for them to actually be late or running late or the one-offs, right? Do you allow that grace period, I guess you would say? What I've done in the past is I've always set up a grace period. So if it's 8, we say, okay, if you're here from 8 to 8:05, you're not late, but that's not an everyday occurrence. You still need to be at work at 8. So what the facilities and what supervisors started doing was just saying, okay, well, yeah, start time is 8. We have to be rolling at 8:00. But then you have the one-offs of somebody at 8:05, 8:03, 8:02. But then after that, then they are late and they have to start recording it and tracking it. So then setting that expectation of, okay, well, how many lates can you accept then? Let's say in a week or in a month. Let's just take a month period. What's acceptable? Then setting those standards of, well, it's 5 lates in a month. Okay, well, if that's your standard, then it's across the board. It's everybody. Then you got to hold that standard, and you have to be consistent with every person in the building. And consistency is what drives it, right? It's not just having the expectation, the standard, the policies, the rules, whatever you want to call it. Now it's about you have to be consistent and drive that with everybody and not fall into what you would call favoritism and those types of things. Because that generally what happens. So my thing is, okay, well, if you're going to start doing this, then you have to make sure it's consistent. And if you start day 1, you got to keep going through year 10 or whatever it may be.
Right. Just like raising kids, right?
And it's not easy. I get it. And we work through it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not talking about just PRISM. I'm talking about in general. All the years I've been doing this, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
A lot of companies I go to, there's those elements everywhere where it's not consistent.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I've always struggled with too, because you like an employee, you like the work that they're doing, and you tend to just let them get away with stuff. And then it just builds over time and they're getting away with more and more. Yeah, I mean, I've had some recent experiences where, this employee he's like, well, I like to have YouTube videos running in the background while I'm working. And I'm like, okay, but then you're looking at it and it's like you're seeing more YouTube videos than you are work being done. And it's like, at what point do you draw the line and say, you just can't do, because I mean, I can't imagine, like, how can I can't write a piece of content and have a YouTube video playing. Like, that's not going to work. I mean, they're going to be paying attention to one or the other, right?
Right. It's the same thing.
Drawing the harder lines, I think, is important. But we've also kind of felt like hostages, right? Like, because there's such, this labor shortage going on, and it's like, how am I going to refill this role? And so then the employee's like, well, I want to work from home. Or I want to work half as much as I was. And it's like, all right.
Right. It's the same thing. You have, how tied is everybody with their cell phone? Everybody's pretty much tied to their cell phone. Now imagine going into a facility and the facility telling you, well, you can't have your phone on the floor. You're going to be on the floor for 3-4 hours at a time. Well, if you count break, it'd be up to 2, right? 2-3 hours at a time without your phone, period. The reaction you get from them is they make it seem like you told them to give up your firstborn.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to deal with that. And if they do have their phone on the floor, they can't use it. Because some of them don't want to leave it because then they're afraid it's going to get stolen. And I understand that part. But now it's a matter of, well, you can't use it because now it is actually a safety issue. You can't drive with your cell phone. What makes you think you could operate a piece of equipment utilizing your cell phone? So you have to explain that aspect to them. So we have those policies in place, and then we just, have to enforce it. And most companies that I know of do have that policy in place where they can't use it and or have it on the floor, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is a great thing. I mean, I wish to God my employees couldn't have access to their, but most of them work remote, and I have no control over that.
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting. Um, so a little bit more on the leadership side of things, beyond communication, because that's such a broad thing, or maybe it could be a subset of communication. But what do you think is the most common deficiency in somebody that you're looking to move into a leadership position that you really have to address?
I think for communication in general, it's knowing how to talk to the employees. Where if you're trying to get your point across, you're trying to give directions or assignments, knowing how to get that across to them so they understand that you're basically just asking them to perform a task and you're not telling them what to do. Um, some individuals will in turn raise their voice or their language demeanor changes or comes across as being rude or disrespectful or those types of things. For me, I've always just over the years I learned to try and keep my tone pretty much level, whether
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to another supervisor, a manager, an hourly employee, whoever it is. I just try to keep it just one tone, and I try to just get my point across with what I'm saying, not with the tone of my voice. Or
Right.
some people do the opposite. They'll say something, but the tone of the voice means I'm serious. This tone means I'm kidding. This tone means I'm okay. This tone means I'm in a bad mood. Where I try not to do that. I try to keep it consistent. And that's the message I try to tell everybody is
I like
just
that.
try to keep it consistent. The other thing I tell people is since we have so many customers and we're dealing with our customers all the time, one advice I give them is talk to the employees like you would talk to your customer. Because I hear a lot of supervisors, they'll talk to the customer, they'll have a smile on their face, they're giddy, they're cracking jokes, they're, being that smile on their face, they're laughing. Like that's how you talk to the employees.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to them just like that.
Right.
Get you
Yeah.
get stressed. I get you have the weight on the facility on your shoulders. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to step back, and that's how you talk to the employees as well. And in turn, they will give that back to you. And that's what I've learned over the many years I've been doing this. Because when I started earlier in my career, I was like that. I was
Mm-hmm.
very harsh. I wanted to make sure things were getting done, so I was very direct. I'd raise my voice. I would do those types of things as well. But it took individuals to pull me aside and to tell me that's not how you do it. Follow these steps and you will get more out of it. And once I started doing that and I started seeing the employees turning, meaning they were actually giving me positive results in return, I'm like, oh no, this is the only way you can do it.
Right. Right.
Because once you do that, it will come back to you 10 times.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, yeah, and I really haven't heard it said like that before, but I think that just it's not necessarily not just what you say, but it's how you say it. And I think a lot of us default to putting our emotion into something that doesn't really need our emotion. It just needs the statement itself.
Right. Yeah, because
Yeah.
one of the things, like I said, I was doing training on communication with the teams, and I was actually talking to them about how to communicate, not only to communicate, but how, giving them different examples, your body language, how you look at somebody, if you cut somebody off, those types of things. So we went through just, the basic communication skills.
Hmm.
And again, it doesn't get fixed overnight, obviously, no.
Right.
But giving them some awareness of some things to, be mindful of when they're talking to individuals and employees, because it helps out a lot. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to make a big difference in employees sticking around too, because I think probably one of the main reasons why people leave is because they didn't like their leadership or they didn't like the way they were being treated.
Correct. And that's a fact because I've done that in the past myself.
Right.
Feeling disrespected, feeling belittled, those types of things. And one day just turn around and say, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I just, unfortunately, have to make those tough decisions.
Right. So you do this you do this training with people kind of when they're about to be promoted into a leadership position. Is that
I actually do both. So if we're thinking about promoting somebody, I'll have some general conversations with them. And then we make the decision, okay, we promote them. So then once they get promoted, then I'll start going through the trainings. But where I started it off, when I started last year, I trained everybody, every
okay?
supervisor, every manager that we had on staff
Okay.
around the different facilities. I hold these training sessions with them.
Okay. So you're just going to kind of do that once a year then?
If needed, but I'm also going to do it with anybody who gets promoted as well. They'll go through the whole training sessions that I put together. And
Okay.
then, of course, as new topics come online, I'll add to it and I'll
Yep.
redo those sessions with everybody else.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I think probably most companies could really benefit from focusing more on the communication of their supervisors and managers and giving a, kind of a yearly training or a couple times a year. Um, because yeah, that's a huge part of running a successful business. And I think a lot of companies probably focus on the technical aspects of, production, how many parts we're pushing out, or, how
Right.
many boxes we're shipping, whatever it might be. But then that more soft skill stuff is
Right.
really important as well.
Yeah. Because I was on both sides. So I saw both sides. So when I started management, the industry was still doing classroom training, bringing in a trainer, HR holding training classes at the sites, them sending you to travel to do training sessions and training courses. And then I saw the transition to everything being online. And you getting a link and saying, hey, take your training. Okay. And you sit in front of a computer for an hour.
Right.
Then, now it's the same thing. You get a link. Now they monitor you. They want to make sure you're doing check-ins. So now they're making sure you're actually doing the training. But I feel that there should be a combination. There should also be the in-person training as well. Because back to
Hmm.
your point, I 100% agree with you. Those interpersonal skills, we're losing.
Right.
So if I don't have the opportunity to actually talk to somebody and ask questions and, hey, you know what? After the training session, let me talk to you a little bit. Let me
Right.
pick your brain about something else. So I think we're missing that in the industry as well. And again, I'm talking in general. I don't know what other companies do, um, but having those one-on-ones with trainers and classes and sit downs and just having meetings in general as well. Not everything being, on Zoom, on Teams, but just having face-to-face conversations and meetings.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's going to come across way better if it comes directly from you as the leader. Because even if it comes from HR, even if it is in person, you automatically as an employee think to yourself, "Oh, it's another bullshit HR training." Like, you kind of blow it off. But if it's like the director of operations or the president and saying, "Hey, here's the things that have worked for me. You guys have watched me do it. This is how I operate, and here's how I do it." I think that's going to really have a bigger impact than an online training or, some third party coming in and giving the training.
Right.
Well, a lot of interesting stuff to think about. I'm glad we were able to kind of get into that leadership discussion because I feel like that was a really strong takeaway for really any company. So I appreciate your experience there and the fact that you were able to give us some tips.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, that's one thing that for me, that again, over the years, in doing this is one of the things that I personally decide is I want to, trust me, I'm no expert, but any information, anything I can give back to people and individuals that ask questions and want it, I freely give up that information and talk about it. And I talk to, I have a college that I work with that I sit in with the students and I talk with them. So
Okay.
it's just information I like to give back to people because I think it's valuable. I wish somebody that was available to me when I started years and years ago, but I really enjoy doing that.
Do you have like kind of your training process, your leadership training process? Do you have any sort of documentation for that?
I do. So each training has a guideline that, or an outline of what I'm going to talk about. And so what I do is I email that out to the individuals before the session. They review it, and I'll go to the session. And I even take it back to whiteboarding stuff, right? How often do you see that nowadays? So I have the training session. I make sure I have a whiteboard available. I start jotting down thoughts. I'm jotting down their thoughts. I'm putting up acronyms, their questions. If I can answer it, I'll jot it down. So I really take it back to that classroom session setting, I guess you would say. I really kind of take it back to that rather than just saying, hey, here's the information, read it. We'll sit down. If you have any questions, we'll go over it and we're done. I'll go a step further and we'll go through scenarios. I'll ask them questions. I know what they're going on in their day to day. I know what's going on in their world. So I'll be able to use the scenarios to what they actually deal with. I go, well, what about this situation? How do you handle that? Or how would you handle that? And sometimes I'll use real scenarios that happen at a facility, and I'll bring it into the session and say, okay, here's what happened. Here's what did happen. Here's what could have happened. Here's what should have happened if we would have done these steps. So I'll be able to use those real life scenarios, I guess you would say, and really break it down and show them how it could have had a better result. I'm not saying it was wrong, but that's what I tell them. We didn't do anything, no one did anything wrong. These are just some things that could have been better.
I like that. So if somebody was interested in learning a little bit more about how you approach that training, would you be willing to share something with them?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we include a way to get a hold of you in the bio of the video, and if there's somebody that wanted to incorporate some of the techniques that you're using in your facility there, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on today, Art. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.